So yesterday, a article came out from Jez Corden, an opinion piece that came out. I was notified of it, and I was a bit miffed at what I was reading, but I was only sent a snippet of what I was reading, and the part that I did read made it look a hell of a lot worse than what it actually was. And of course, all the media pundits have now jumped on this because they see Jez Corden as an insider, and even though it's an opinion piece, they are saying that basically what he's saying is gospel. Now, what he's titled this as is Microsoft's quest for short-term money is doing long-term damage to Windows, Surface, Xbox, and beyond. So this isn't just targeted at Xbox. This is like a whole kind of corporation thing. I'm Chaos Prime. Welcome back to the video. And if you do enjoy the content I do and do want to support what I do going forward, please do consider hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe, and that bell so you're notified of all content I release. Streams have come to a stop for the time being until my moving and relocation is basically sorted. I am hoping to be here for June the 9th, if possible, and hopefully I'll update you on the community section or my Discord, so feel free to join my Discord to stay up to date with all of that. But if you do enjoy the content, please do consider subscribing. It really helps the channel and the video, and it does help with the YouTube algorithm. Right, so as we were saying, so as you can see, this is the title, and I'm not going to go through all of this. I'll link the thing, the article in the description below. A security scandal that indicates a wider problem. I'm just going through the bylines. Surface and Windows Phone almost made Microsoft seem cool until again Microsoft gave up. And this is a common theme that goes on with this. Ads in Windows 11 start menu is pure insanity. A lot of people are complaining about this and do not like it. And then we come to corporate is coming for Xbox with short-sighted money now strategies that will cause irreparable damage. Now, I do want to point out that if we look over here, Jez debunked it already. You know, the whole fiasco that's going online right now, they took what I said out of context like previously. And then not what I wrote, lol, just that Satya wants it. He's not being shy about this. There's no confirmation yet whether there is or isn't a true red line. So with that in mind, with that in notion, let's now go through with this. So this is basically an opinion piece on what he's basically saying. So I wanted to go through this and break it down because I think a lot of the information out there is basically taking what he said, twisting it to their narrative, Xbox bad, Game Pass bad, and basically trying to push. I mean, it's clear that PlayStation fans absolutely desperately need Xbox games. They are craving for it. They are begging for it. They absolutely need these games because they've got nothing else for 2025, right? For 2024 and for the first quarter of 2025. They are absolutely on their hands and knees begging for Satya to put their games on there because I guess they think their games are pretty crap. If you are begging another platform to put their whole catalog onto your platform, that clearly tells you that there's a problem on your own platform. If you're picking one or two games out here and there, I can get it. But we're talking games like Starfield, which they have unanimously, the media and everyone, including especially the PlayStation fans, have been bashing for what, 6 months? Like, it's almost become a cult. But now they're begging for Phil to deliver the game to their platform. It's not even just sad, it's cringe at this point. But anyway, let's go. I love my Xbox Series X. It's an incredible piece of kit that does exactly what I want it to do. But similarly to Microsoft Edge, it might be too late. Now, for what he's referring to here, Microsoft Edge has now incorporated Chromium as opposed to the Windows 11 Word, and that's basically now become essentially Chrome, but without the bloat. It's actually a really good browser. It's my daily driver now because Chrome has a lot of bloat and it causes all sorts of problems for me. But for anything that I actually do normally, I use Edge now because it just doesn't have that bloat and it just works better. And you can change your search engine to whatever you want. You don't have to use Bing. Xbox hardware sales have been down around 30% year over year, 2 years in a row. Part of that is a poor lineup and inconsistent delivery from Xbox. Part of it is a general gaming downturn. Another part of it is Microsoft's catastrophic 2013 reveal of the Xbox One, which has cast a cloud of doubt over the brand ever since. Now, I think they kind of could have gotten past this whole 2013 ordeal if they launched their Series S with Halo. If that launch happened and Halo hit home, I think at that point they would have been okay. But their first year for the Series X, if I'm not mistaken, went without a single exclusive. Now, the whole notion that Xbox has no games is bollocks. They have a lot of games from third-party studios, but when they say that, they're referring to first-party games, and the first-party outing during the first year was pretty slim. I think it was non-existent, but I can't remember now offhand. But I'm going to go with pretty slim. Despite all this, Xbox has record revenue, even before Activision Blizzard joined the fray. Indeed, Microsoft wants to stay in gaming, hence spending $72 billion on Activision Blizzard last year. Well, they want to stay in mobile gaming, that's for sure. Giving it control over Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and other major PC, console, and mobile franchises. I still had this potentially naive outlook that Activision under Xbox would benefit all involved. Still, it resulted immediately in hundreds of layoffs, game cancellations, squeezed budgets, and studio closures and divestitures. Well, the layoffs is clearly due to the merger. You do any merger, you're going to get layoffs. Some of them probably, but just game cancellations, if they didn't see it was worth it, that's going to kill that studio or the staff. It's inevitable. But the majority of those layoffs were due to the merger. And that is something that is part and parcel with any merger. So people holding that against Microsoft need to hold that against every single consolidation company ever, contract in the world. From the outside, it's not hard to see what's going on at Xbox as totally chaotic. And as with the above, chaos and inconsistency have typified Microsoft's playbook in the years I've been covering the brand. Most of Xbox lifespan over the past 10 years has revolved around playing catch-up. And the fact they're still in the game is a miracle. Innovations like Xbox Game Pass, advocacy from Phil Spencer and his team, and building more affordable consoles like the Xbox Series S have helped Microsoft stay in the running. But now, Microsoft's corporatism is infecting the goodwill and momentum Xbox had generating in recent years, threatening to derail the hard work to rebuild. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella previously said that he has no love for the world of console-exclusive games, but does understand why they exist. Fast forward a few months, and Nadella is now celebrating with investors his strategy to move Xbox's exclusive games to PlayStation, even though they just didn't do well. A strategy that has been met with widespread alarm from Xbox users and confusion from pundits. And, they have every right to. This is something that's just not the norm. And it's only one party doing it. Now, if all parties were doing it, it wouldn't be a problem. But because it's just one party doing it, it is a problem. There's some console war tribalism in certain corners, but there are plenty of legitimate reasons to be concerned about this. If you're a current Xbox customer, it stands to reason that moving your exclusive games like Halo, Gears, or Forza to PlayStation eliminates a reason to buy an Xbox console. I agree. The moment those tentpole titles go, and especially if they go day and date, that's it. Like, why? Why would you? Like, that is why they cannot do that. They absolutely cannot move their base games like Halo, Gears, Forza. I mean, I'm adding Fable into there. I'm adding Starfield into there. They cannot do that. They just cannot. If you eliminate reasons to buy an Xbox console, you're once again handing the keys to your future to other platforms. A problem Microsoft has right now with Google and Apple when they close their Windows phones program. Furthermore, you're removing the endpoint to acquire users via Xbox Game Pass, and the console is the primary endpoint for acquiring Game Pass users. If you remove the primary endpoint of acquiring your users, the one that generates the most subscriptions, that's also going to lead to Game Pass being closed down as well. So it doesn't make sense if they really want to push ahead with Game Pass that they are doing this to their platform. Cloud is prohibitively expensive right now and is gatekept by Apple and Google, once again blocking in-app purchases, or in some cases blocking it entirely. You're also decreasing your footprint for the game developers, who will increasingly see Xbox versions as wasting time. You set yourself up for a tailspin nosedive of exclusion, to the point where Xbox becomes another game publisher without a say in the overall direction of the industry. But maybe that's the idea. Maybe they just want to become a third-party publisher, is what you're saying. But in my opinion, what Microsoft should be doing is doubling down, getting those third-party exclusives for Xbox console only, giving people a reason to actually buy a console, and pushing the hardware really hard to get it out there into as many homes as possible before the generation switch. We know that a handheld is coming. We know a new console is coming. Whether it's going to be a hybrid or not is still up in the air. But if they should be pushing really hard in this final, this second half of the generation. But they've got 2 years to really get as many of those consoles home, get those exclusive games onto your platform where it's the only place to play it. You can't play it on any other platform, not PC, not the Switch, not the PlayStation. That's being the only place to play, to encourage people to jump into your ecosystem. You've already got a cheap entry point with the Series S. What more are you looking for? The plan to move Xbox games to other platforms is codenamed Latitude internally. And I know there's debate and unease at Microsoft about whether or not this is a good idea. Now, what he's referring to here is Sacci obviously wants everything to go everywhere because it generates more money. Phil and Sarah, on the other hand, are of the opposing idea. They still believe in the brand and the overall console platform, and they want to deliver what's best for their customers. More upcoming Microsoft-owned games slated for PlayStation are already being developed. Now, these games are not the AAA tentpole titles. These are going to be like the A, AA, or even indie games that were exclusive to Microsoft that are now being ported over. They're not going to be your tentpole titles. They just cannot do that. I don't even think Sacci is that crazy. At least for now, they're potentially obvious games you'd most likely expect. Right, so not the Starfields, not the Halos, not the Forzas, not the Gears. And yes, while it's true, Microsoft is a prolific publisher on PlayStation already, and we're talking about like games like Minecraft, we're talking about games like Elder Scrolls Online expansions, Diablo expansions. Don't forget, Microsoft actually does put a lot of games now onto multi-platform, especially through Activision and Blizzard. And, even through ZeniMax, there are a lot of games that are live service that continually receive updates. Fallout 76 is just another one, right? They've also got like the recent update for Fallout 3, Fallout 4 HD update that's just gone to all platforms that have the game. So by him saying that, they are already, Microsoft owned games slated for PlayStation are already being developed, this is clearly just the franchises that are already there, not the ones that are new or tentpole titles. So people need to understand that. From what I've heard, Microsoft is pushing for no red line for what games could come to PlayStation. That essentially means everything's on the table. Again, this is based on what he's heard and not actual fact or actual anything, and he's making that perfectly clear from what I've heard. And it all revolves around Satya Nadella and CFO Amy Hood's mandate to increase every department's margins. And at the end of the day, as far as Satya and Amy is concerned, that is their primary objective. Obviously, putting Halo on PlayStation will increase profit margins. It's got a bigger audience, it's got a bigger market, so it's going to make more sales. I mean, that's 101, right? Unless they don't buy it like they did with Hi-Fi Rush, where they came out and said all this time that they actually wanted all these games. And when they eventually got Hi-Fi Rush, they didn't buy it. And, the last ditch to save Tango failed miserably. Sea of Thieves enjoyed a top spot on the PlayStation Store this past week. And in a perfect world, it's great more people get to play these games. But we don't live in a perfect world where platform holders willingly collaborate for customers' betterment while competing on pure value. Now, see, live service games I totally get. And, to a certain extent, like multiplayer games, I get Sea of Thieves, Helldivers 2. Those games make sense because they live and die by their player base. They need players in order to keep it going. They need people to be buying microtransactions to keep it going. The single player games doesn't make sense to me. But as we saw with Hi-Fi Rush, PlayStation fans didn't want that either. Like many of Microsoft's other recent strategies, pursuing this strategy is a short-term margin booster with long-term consequences. And that's the key point here. Short-term gain, long-term disaster. Yes, the industry is struggling, and Microsoft isn't the only hardware manufacturer that has seen declines, but destroying the foundational reason to buy an Xbox isn't the answer you give if you do care about long-term. And that's correct. You want to give people a reason to buy an Xbox. You want to give people a reason that this is the best place to play or the only place you can play these games. Whether it's the Metal Gear Solid 6 or Devil May Cry 7 or a new Castlevania that's exclusive to Xbox console only. Those are reasons to play. They can't really change the day and date from PC now for Xbox first party games. That's kind of gone now. That's a thing that's going to continue to happen. But the third party games is where they can. And just like Sony is money hatting those games, so can Xbox. They can just go and get these games exclusively onto their platform only. Even if it is a timed exclusive for 2 years, it doesn't matter. No one's going to wait 2 years to buy a game, right? If there's more than one game coming that they want, and you can push that in a good marketing campaign, it will attract customers coming to your console. It's really that simple. Well, when I say no one's going to wait, clearly people are waiting for Final Fantasy VII Remake. Microsoft needs to learn some patience. Microsoft's net income last quarter was over 20 billion. Plenty of that is attributed to the cloud, and I'm not suggesting Azure has to prop up its other business, but there's something to be said about playing the long-term game. Microsoft's co-founder and former CEO Bill Gates once offered a variation of a quote attributed to dozens of others, which follows something like this. People often overestimate what will happen in the next 2 years and underestimate what will happen in 10. Microsoft doesn't seem to be learning from these lessons. There could be a wave of new mobile AI devices that Microsoft could have taken advantage of if it at least had some foothold in mobile phones. And this is kind of like, I mean, a real world example of this is Google Stadia. If Google Stadia waited for another 3 months, they would have got all the games from Microsoft onto their platform. 3 months could have been, and we could have had a different Google Stadia. It likely would have been alive right now and thriving because the service itself was good. Maybe the launch was bad, but a few months in, a year in, and it was actually really, really good. Now, if they had waited just a few more months during that trial, they would have actually benefited and likely would have stayed on and actually been, even though a small contributing thing in this kind of console era, they would have been a part of it. But instead, they decided to quit, jump out, and I bet they're kicking themselves in the foot right now for it. There could be some super viral game around the corner that will turn around Xbox's console fortunes if Microsoft doesn't kill its hardware platform with short-sighted decisions soon. As Microsoft's competitor may emerge who takes customer service and security investments more seriously and works to undermine trust in Microsoft's products through those weaknesses Microsoft has allowed to accumulate. Perhaps Zuckerberg's multi-billion-dollar gambit in the metaverse ends up paying off. Hindsight is 2020, and I'm admittedly not privy to the full range of factors driving some of Microsoft's decision-making. But after 10 years, the results tend to speak for themselves. I always hear that Microsoft is learning from its mistakes, but it never seems to do so. They acquire companies at breakneck speed, underinvest in integrations, and then shut down those divisions and products while wondering what went wrong. We've seen it repeatedly. Reams of layoffs, underbaked integrations, low investment, and taking customers for granted. Xbox seems to have an impressive slate of upcoming games, but because of the patterns Microsoft keeps throwing at us, it all comes with a cloud of doubt. Doubt is easy. Building trust is hard, and Microsoft hasn't learned this yet. And that is the point. There's a saying, what's the easiest thing to lose, but the hardest thing to earn? Trust. It's so easy to lose that trust, but to regain it, you have to climb mountains, to actually get it back. And that is something that Microsoft just hasn't learned. And hopefully they will. But what he's saying here is they need to stop with the short-sighted goals and really, really push Xbox this second half of the generation, because the new console generation is clearly coming and they are investing in it. They want the hardware, but if they want people to buy that hardware, they need to give people more than Game Pass as a reason to get into it. Because as they say, you can play Game Pass anywhere, not just an Xbox console. And if people aren't buying the Xbox console, well, as he said there in the thing, third-party studios will start to say, well, what's the point in making it here when we could just make it on PC if the market is too small? Now, obviously, 30 million, now 23 million users, now 23 million Xboxes is still a decent number, but what the point here is, you want them to be in a position where they're taking the console seriously and pushing it really, really hard. Now, did this article need to come out? It's an opinion piece. Now, the part that everyone is clearly latching onto is this bit here. The plan to move Xbox games to other platforms is called latitude internally. Now, whether this was broken by, this news of latitude is revealed by Jez or not, I don't know. If it was, dude, you really didn't need to mention this. At the end of the day, if it's not public knowledge, it should have stayed internally while they figure out what they're doing and then let the people know. But this only just sows more doubt, and it actually adds to Microsoft's plight. Alternatively, he's putting it out there so people can react in a negative way to actually tell Microsoft to stop doing what the fuck they're doing. Either way, the media has now picked up on this latitude and are running with it. That now all games are coming from Xbox to PlayStation. How does that help your brand? How does that help the perception that Xbox is still the console to buy? How does that help the Xbox image? How does that help the Xbox console? Because all this does is tell people there's no reason to buy one. Go somewhere else because the games are coming there. And that's probably my biggest annoyance with this whole article. That this one bit here, there's no reason for this to have been made public. But it was. And this isn't an opinion part. He's clearly saying here the plan to move Xbox games to other platforms is codenamed Latitude internally. That's being lapped up on social media right now. People are talking about it. They're talking to their friends about it. They're giving them less reason to invest in an Xbox. And this will only push, Microsoft in one direction more and more. So if this wasn't public and it became public because of this one article, then all this article has done is help Sacci and Nadella make that decision he wants to make. And though inadvertently the article is trying to do the complete opposite, it's given him even more reason to push it in that direction. So honestly, I think this aspect here, just this one line here, despite the article actually being good and actually getting some really good points through, and as we've discussed, this one point here that I've highlighted has done more bad, I reckon, than we've seen probably in the last 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. Because that's now adding, actual weight to what people were saying. Whether it's true or not, whether they're actually pulling ahead with it, or what, maybe they're just giving it a code name so they just don't want to constantly talk about PlayStation in the office. Regardless of what it is, right? This has created a shitstorm. And though, like I said, he came out and debunked it. It's clear. That one statement there hasn't been debunked. It hasn't. That one statement there did not get debunked because he is saying that now exists. It's not something that he's heard. It's not something that he was told. He knows for a fact that this exists. And to me, that one statement there has done more damage than good. And there was absolutely no need for it. None at all. Do people want to live in bliss? Probably not. Ignorance, as they say, is bliss. But at the end of the day, all this is doing is sowing discourse, discontent, and making people not want, push people away. Everything here was telling me go gung-ho against Xbox and tell them that what they're doing is wrong. You want them to support the console more. You want them to push more and, get more aggressive and all of this and all of that. And then you put this in there, which completely undermines everything that was written in the article. That's my view of it. That's my view. You let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you agree with that sentiment, or do you think I'm reading this entirely wrong? Because this part here is what's annoyed me. That's the part that's annoyed me. Because there was no need for that. There was no need for that. Anyway, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.